Welcome to Tales from the Vale. Today, we witness a legend forged in blood, the wrath of the sons of Ragnar Lodbrok. The story of the great heathen army is a saga of revenge that would change the course of history forever. It began on the storm-lashed shores of Northumbria, where the waves crash against jagged rocks like a warning from the gods. Ragnar met his end in a pit of vipers, but his death was the spark that ignited a fire across all of England. In the flickering hearth light, Ivor the Boneless nursed a cold fury that would soon consume entire kingdoms. From the frozen north, hundreds of dragon-headed longships carved through the thick, gray morning mist toward the Saxon shores. Led by Bjorn Ironside, the Northmen sailed with axes thirsty for the blood of those who murdered their king and father. The great heathen army landed like a hammer blow, thousands of warriors marching in unison as war drums echoed across the sand. King Ella watched the horizon darken, his hands trembling as the shadow of the Northmen finally reached his palace gates. The Battle of York was a whirlwind of steel. Shield walls shattered under the relentless weight of the Viking assault. Covered in the mud and blood of his enemies, Bjorn Ironside let out a primal war cry that shook the foundations of England. King Ella was dragged through the filth, his golden robes torn, his royal pride reduced to nothing but terror. Ivor the Boneless looked down at the broken king with a chilling smirk, the moment of long-awaited vengeance finally here. Against a blood-red sunset, the instruments of a terrible ritual were prepared, the legendary and brutal Blood Eagle execution. The Viking warriors gathered in a grim circle, their torches flickering in the wind as they prepared the ultimate sacrifice. As the ceremonial blade was sharpened, a raven watched from above, a silent witness to the grim justice of the north. The sons of Ragnar stood victorious over a conquered land, their father's death avenged and their names etched in the sagas. Like and subscribe to Tales from the Vale for more epic chronicles. The saga of the Northmen has only just begun. Welcome back to Tales from the Vale. Tonight, we unearth a legend lost to the waves, the final voyage of the Iron Tide fleet. Our story begins where the world ends, amidst the jagged rocks and the roaring, dark ocean of the north. Under a blood-red sunset, a dozen Viking longships departed the fjords. Their sails were heavy with ambition, and their hearts full of fire. At the prow of the lead ship stood Captain Bjorn. He was a man who feared no storm, but he was sailing toward a supernatural fate. Without warning, the air turned frigid. A supernatural mist, thick as wool and gray as bone, descended upon the fleet, blinding every sailor. The great ships became ghosts in the white void. One by one, the silhouettes of his brothers vanished into the oppressive silence. The wind died. The water became unnaturally still, like a sheet of black glass, reflecting nothing but the void above. Suddenly, ghostly lights flickered beneath the hull. The water churned with a life that had long since died. Then, the first strike. A cold, barnacled hand reached from the depths, gripping the wood with the strength of the grave. The Draugr had arrived, reanimated warriors from the abyss, their eyes glowing with a hateful, icy blue light that pierced the gloom. Chaos erupted. Steel clashed against bone as the undead dragged the living into the freezing water. The mist swallowed their screams. Finally, only Bjorn stood alone. He raised his axe for one last stand as the fog closed in to claim the final soul. Decades later, only rot and ruin remained. A lone fisherman finds the fragments of a story that the sea refuses to forget. The sea keeps its secrets. If you enjoyed this mystery, like and subscribe to Tales from the Vale for more legends from the deep. #mystery. Welcome back to Tales from the Vale. Today, we delve into a legend born of blood and steel, a story of greed that defied the gods. This is the War of the Broken Axe. Our tale begins with Bjorn the Raven, a pirate whose hunger for gold outweighed his fear of the old ways. On a desolate, wave-lashed shore, his crew found a longship buried in black sand, a tomb untouched for centuries. Inside the hull lay a weapon of impossible power, the broken axe. Its jagged blade pulsed with a sickly green light, whispering of forgotten wars. Despite the warnings of his men, Bjorn claimed the relic. As his fingers closed around the hilt, the shadows began to stir. On the voyage home, the ocean turned to ink. From the depths, ghostly warriors rose, an army of the damned seeking what was stolen. The runes on the axe bled black smoke, binding themselves to Bjorn's very flesh. The curse had taken hold, and there was no turning back. A chaotic battle erupted on the deck. Bjorn fought with fury, the axe unleashing ripples of emerald energy with every strike against the spectral Draugr. But the power came with a price. With every kill, Bjorn's life force withered, his skin turning to the cold gray of the grave. The ghostly army converged, led by a colossal shadow commander of ancient malice. The sea itself screamed for the return of its treasure. Bjorn realized too late, the axe was bound to his soul. Standing alone on a burning wreck, he faced his final, bitter choice. To save the world from the darkness he unleashed, he plunged into the crushing depths, taking the cursed iron with him forever. Greed has a heavy price. If you enjoyed this journey into the Vale, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales. Welcome back to Tales from the Vale, where legends are forged in the mist and the blood of the past. Today, we unearth the tragic saga of forbidden love that ignited a war between the north and the sea. Eirik, a Viking warrior of the frozen fjords, stood sentinel over the gray horizon, his heart as cold as the wind. But out of the fog emerged a ghost, a black-sailed galleon carrying a queen from the southern reaches. Isabella, the fierce pirate queen, stepped onto the rocky shore, meeting his gaze with the defiance that sparked a flame. What began as curiosity turned to a secret bond. Hidden within the shadows of a torchlit sea cave, they exchanged tokens of two different worlds, a Viking runestone for an ornate silver compass. But secrets are rarely kept in the land of fire and ice. Their clans discovered the betrayal and demanded blood. Dawn broke over a sea of fire as the longships of the north collided with the cannons of the pirates. Amidst the chaos and flying arrows, Eirik and Isabella found each other one last time on a burning deck. The ocean turned crimson as axes shattered against steel in a struggle that neither side could truly win. By sunset, the War of Hearts had left only wreckage and the hollow silence of a devastated shore. Isabella knelt in the red-soaked sand, her heart breaking over the fallen warrior she could not save. The Vale remembers their names, even as the tides wash away the remnants of their forbidden love. For more epic tales from the shadows of history, subscribe to Tales from the Vale. See you in the next legend.